will put it up on our school's YouTube account. So I wanted to start out by welcoming all of you to our kindergarten roundup. This is not in any way how we had planned this when we started it. So I'm glad that you found your way to us. If you're anything like me, you've spent more time in Zoom than you care to for your whole life. But I'm glad you're sacrificing for us for this. The reason that we have this kindergarten roundup is that as you have kids, whether you've been down this road before, or if this is your first child, there are always questions. And I can tell you there have never been more questions than there are now. So we wanted to make sure that we could go through, help you all get signed up and registered and ready to go, answer any questions that you have about kindergarten in general, go into a little bit about what things possibly could be different for next year, introduce you to our great staff, and like I said, answer any questions that you have. So I am going to test my technology skills and share my screen with you, and hopefully this will work out pretty good. All right, so I'm hoping that you can see my screen right now. Any of the friends of mine that cannot, please text me and tell me if I'm messing this up. But otherwise, I wanted to welcome you to our kindergarten roundup. Like I said, this is our kindergarten orientation for parents and students to get you excited about what next year is going to look like. And like I said, get any questions answered that you can. I am joined tonight by some of our amazing kindergarten, including Miss Winters, Miss McKay, and Mrs. Schieffer. So I'll introduce you to them in just a moment. As we go through this, if you have some questions, feel free to put those in the chat along with your name and email, and we will answer any questions that we can during this session here. And if it's burning, urgent question, feel free to unmute yourself and we can go ahead and answer those on the spot. This is really all about getting you the information that you need. So we're hopeful that we can make this as valuable as possible. I saw a lot of familiar names in the chat, and I know many of you, but for those I haven't met, my name is Mark Burrows, and I am the principal and superintendent here at San Pasqual. We are joined on this chat by the kindergarten team and my assistant, Mrs. Lee, and we're also joined by our registrar, Joanne Wang. So we have a lot of experts here, like I said, to clear up any questions and to give you an idea what kindergarten's looking like as we move forward. Our goals for today are to welcome you to San Pasqual Union School. We have a beautiful school, and the pictures just don't do it justice. So if you've been here, you know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, we'll try to paint that picture for you tonight. We want to introduce you to the staff, invite you to be partners with us. One of the things that makes San Pasqual a special place is we are very open to parent volunteers, parent partnerships, and activities that enrich the education of our kids. We will give you a little bit of guidance on how to register. We have a registration online, and typically we have you come into the office and we walk you through that process. There's still some possibilities for that, just in a little bit of a different way, but most of these things are being done online. So we'll walk you through that and give you an idea how to do that if you haven't done so already, or if you're having some challenges. We want to help you prepare your child for the first day of kindergarten. It is a big and exciting day. But we've got about 100 days between now and then. And there's some important things that we can share with you that may help your child be as ready as he or she can be. Like I mentioned before, we will show you our beautiful school and answer any questions that you may have, and we will clear that up for you. I wanted to go into our mission, because our mission at San Pasqual Union School, we are a TK through 8th grade school. We have a private preschool as well. But our mission applies to our littlest kids, including our kindergartners, all the way up through our 8th graders. And that's that we want to ensure that all our children receive an education that builds their character, competence, knowledge, and skills to prepare them to be competent lifelong learners who can achieve excellence. No one ever ruined their life in kindergarten, but they certainly can get a great start on it. And our goal is to get kids on the path so that not only do they become great academics, they learn lots of things, but more importantly, they become great people. And that's a big focus that we have here at San Pasqual. I'd like to introduce you briefly to our TK and K team. They like to do their work in person, so I just want to ask them to say hello. So Miss Winters, can you say hello to your adoring fans?
Of course. Good evening. It's so nice to see all of you and meet all of you, and we're looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, Ms. Winters. Ms. Winters is our TK teacher this year. She has some expertise working with our transitional kindergarten students. Those are the students that have just missed that cut by a couple months. We'll go into the dates on everything. And she is expected to be our TK teacher for this year, possibly in combination with a K class. But Ms. Winters does amazing work with our TK students. I'd also like to introduce you to Mrs. McKay, who also is one of our kindergarten, extraordinary kindergarten teachers. Ms. McKay, can you say hello?
Hi, everybody. So good to see you.
Thank you, Kimby. Good to see you too. And also, Mrs. Schieffer is an amazing part of our kindergarten team. Ms. Schieffer, can you say hello?
Hi, everyone. I am excited to start the new year with you guys, and I see a lot of faces that I know too. Good to see you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Schieffer. Yes, it is nice.
You're welcome.
To see so many familiar faces. As we move in, as I mentioned before, we have lots of ways for parents to be involved here at school. And as you get a little bit more acclimated to the school, there are ways for you to be involved. The teachers that you just met have never turned down a volunteer, so they're excited to have you in their rooms and helping side by side. And then we also have lots of great groups, including our PTO, our foundation that raises money, our Red Barn Arts, which is dedicated to arts enrichment. We have our Sage Garden, our DLAC committee works with our second language families. School Site Council gives some guidance to governance. We have a reading program. So if you're interested in being involved in the school, more than just sending your child, we have lots and lots of places for you to partner with us. Kindergarten registration. We are currently planning our kindergarten for next year, and this is the kind of kindergarten rules as far as enrollment. In order to be eligible for kindergarten, you have to turn 5 before September 1st of 2020, unless you are a student that's turning 5 between September 2nd and December 2nd, you are eligible for a transitional kindergarten. We're looking at some options of possibly extending that date out to the end of December. So if you have a student that is going to turn 5 before the end of this calendar year, let us know, because we might have some options for that. But that's the difference between our kindergarten classes and registering for our transitional kindergarten classes. Where and how do I register? I wanted to bring in Mrs. Wang, who is our registrar, at least doing registrar duties all this summer to make sure that people get connected. There's some forms that we typically collect from people, but we have some flexible ways to do that. And those include a birth certificate, immunizations, proof of residency, medical and dental forms, that kind of thing. Mrs. Wang, do you have anything you want to share as far as online registration or some things that parents should know?
For online registration, I've probably contacted a couple of you through our online portal. If you haven't done so, I'll need a copy of the birth certificate emailed to me. Immunization records, I know doctor's offices are closed right now, but if you will contact them, I guess our health clerk has been in touch with a few, and some doctor's offices are opening up in the mornings just for immunizations, because your child will need that to start school. And I guess you can also go to CVS or the public health office as well. But the other ones that we can kind of wait on right now are your medical and dental forms as well for those documents. But if you have any of them, please email them to me as well. And I'm going to attach the medical and dental form to this chat for those who might need it. And then you can always email me. My email is down there on the bottom of this slide if you have any further questions. So.
All right. Thank you, Joanne. And also, we do have about 1/3 of our students attend San Pasquale on an inter-district transfer. I believe Mrs. Lee is on the line. If I can introduce her and have her tell you a little bit about how the transfer process works, and we can answer any questions that you may have about that. Mrs. Lee, are you with us?
I am indeed with you. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all. I'm glad that we have so many participants. And here comes my TK student. Sorry. I'm speaking to a bunch of parents right now, babe. Anyway, as far as the inter-district transfer, baby, go away. As far as the inter-district transfer, you need to be released from your current district. Most people are either coming from Escondido or Valley Center. You turn that form in to their pupil services or student services, and once they release you, we get the form. And as long as we have space in our programs, we will accept your IDT and let you know that you're welcome to attend our school.
And Mrs. Lee, right now, how is space looking for our current kinder program?
It's looking like we have space available. So if there's no specialty programs attached to that, there is kindergarten space.
Yeah, so if you have questions about enrolling in kinder, Mrs. Lee would be your primary contact. Typically, it has to do with if we have room in the grade and room in program. So if there's a specialty program that your child requires, if we have space in that program and space in the grade, we can accept. If we don't have space or one or the other, we will let you know what that challenge would be. But if you have any questions about that transfer process, Mrs. Lee would be your go-to person. And then a lot of the registration forms talk about having original copies of things. Obviously, if you're sending them through a digital format, they won't be original. So there'll be a number of things that we will either take pictures or scans and then worry about the original copies at a more appropriate time. So we will be flexible with those things, but Mrs. Wang can answer those questions for you. We've also had a lot of questions this year about full day kindergarten options. Traditionally, San Pasqual has had a different schedule for our kindergartners than our 1st through 5th graders. And what that schedule was is all of our kindergartners were released at 1:30 each day. And the rest of the students were released at 3 o'clock, with the exception of Thursday, and everybody went home at 1:30 on Thursday. More recently, we've seen in kindergartens in the region, and as a request from a number of parents, a request to have kindergarten be full day, meaning kindergarten goes the same hours as other grades, starting at 8:30 and going till 3 o'clock. So we did get some approval from our school board to extend kindergarten till 3 o'clock, but not mandate kindergarten till 3 o'clock. And what that means is that as we get you into the enrollment process, we will talk to you at some point about your preference for release, and that will help us in class placements. But we will have an option as a default option for all students to stay till 3 o'clock every day except for Thursday, and then an option for some students to be released at 1:30 should parents choose to do that. We are going to ease into that. We do plan on having kindergartners released at 1:30 for the first about week and 2.5 weeks of school to help them acclimate to the school process. After Labor Day, which is kind of when a number of people think we should be starting anyway, we will be shifting to our 3 o'clock dismissal. A number of people were talking about exactly how that's going to work. There is a possibility that we will have early release students in a TK-K combo because our TK students still get released at 1:30. We may have a whole class if there's enough interest that goes for a partial day and the whole class is released. We also could have some early release of some students, most likely having a recess break at 1:30 in the afternoon. Some students go to recess and then return to the class, and some students go home. And then the whole idea of social distancing, which we'll get to in a moment, could change these up a little bit more. So we will talk to you about that. But like I said, there are options for 3 o'clock and 1:30 release days for you, with our TK students being released at 1:30 each day. Speaking of the social distancing aspects, wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. Right now, our school, through state mandate, just as are all schools in the state of California right now, at least all of our public schools, are closed due to the fact that we are not permitted to gather in groups, and we are required to stay 6 feet away from one another. We are hopeful and optimistic that by the time that the start of school returns, that there will be a lessening of those restrictions to not gather, and some ability for schools to make some decisions as far as how we can keep kids safe and how we can best educate them. So depending on what the guidance from the health department is and the state officials, when we return to school, it'll dictate our program. We are making plans right now to have all of our students return on the 19th of August, which is our first day of school. But we have some contingency plans if students need to be 2 meters or 6 feet away, which is what the current guidelines are giving us. We have calculated that that 6-foot guidance allows us to put about half the number of kindergartners in a class that we normally do. We normally have kindergarten classes that hover around 20 students per class. We do not exceed 24 on average students per class, but usually we are in the 20, 22 range, and we have figured out that we can fit about half that much in a classroom. So if we are under some social distancing requirements, we are working out a couple different plans to try to figure out how best to educate students. So as those things start to come together, we will be sure to share them with you. But our plan number one is to educate students where we feel we can educate them best, which is with our great teachers in our classrooms. So like I said, we will keep you posted as we continue to get guidance from government and health officials. These I'm not going to read to you. We will just go through these and I will share them with you. But the reason that we put these things out is we get a lot of questions from parents of how do I get my kid ready for kindergarten? And these are some things that your kindergarten team has put together that gives you some things that you can do with your child, that talks about reading awareness, that talks about retelling of stories, first and last name, sorting objects, those kind of things. For those of you who have attended preschool with us, I feel confident that many of these skills have been mastered by your students. If not, there are things that are in progress. Know that whatever types of things that you're doing with your students to have them communicate, to have them read, to have them be curious about learning new things, all those things are great. So continue to engage your children, and these are some suggestions from the team. A few more things that we can look at doing as far as kindergarten readiness. This is kind of when you're getting ready to come back to school. Try to get them on a routine about a week ahead of time. Prepare for them to come to school. We have a kindergarten boot camp I will talk to you about. It's not as scary as it sounds. But these are some things that you can do as you get kind of closer to the school time to have them be ready as they can for the start of school. There is something that we are offering right now. We've had a number of parents that say, hey, you know, I could really use some guidance on behavior or some fine motor skills. My kids have some sensory challenges or some anxiety challenges. We have some of our school experts, Mrs. Jones and who's our head of our special education department, and Mrs. Moss, who is our occupational therapist. And they are putting on a free Zoom session for parents Friday, May 22nd. Like I said, if you put your name and email in the Zoom, we will send you out when that time gets confirmed and the link to do that. But some good things that you can do with your kids to kind of help them be as successful as they can be. We are hopeful to have a summer library program as well. This is a program where kids who are enrolled in kindergarten can come get stories read to them, check books out, get a little acclimated to the campus in a much more relaxed setting. Right now, we typically have 6 sessions over the summertime. And right now, those sessions are to be determined because we don't know what type of program we can offer. This summer, since the break, we have been offering drive-through library services, and we've checked out nearly 700 books since school has been closed. So we are, it is our goal to put books in the hands of kids, so to be determined exactly how that happens. I did talk to you about kindergarten boot camp. And what kindergarten boot camp is it rolls in shortly before the start of the school year, and it's the week before school starts. And it's scheduled for, and again, this is as long as we're allowed to do this, we bring in all kindergartners for 2 hours each day, and we talk to them about they're introduced to their teachers, they're introduced to the classrooms, they learn how to line up, how the playground works, all those kind of things. And what we found is that by doing this in a more relaxed format, in a condensed format where they're here for a couple hours instead of for a whole day, the anxiety levels and the challenges we had seen in the past on our first days are greatly reduced. So we're optimistic that we'll be able to hold our kindergarten roundup on the 10th and 11th from 9 to 11. If so, we do have a parent orientation as well. So on that first day, we do bring parents in and do something similar to this, but this is about a week outside of school. So we tend to have a few more questions on exactly how everything's gonna work. We have a great playground area for our kindergartners. At San Pasqual Union School, we have TK through 8th graders, but our TK, our K, and our first graders have their own playground, their own lunch area, and their own place that for them to go on their breaks. So the nice thing about the way things are designed is I know a lot of people are concerned about sending students to school, especially when there's such a wide age range. And I would counter that by saying having students from TK all the way through 8th grade, not only does it build more of a community feel to the school, I would say a private school feeling to our school, but what it also does is it creates some protectors in our older students. We see students that are graduating this year that have been to our school for 9 years. They know what it's like. They work as buddies to our younger kindergarten students. They come to them, read to them during Read Across America and other events. So we find that our older students tend to be a real benefit to our youngers. But when they're out on the playground and out having lunch, we like to keep our K1 students separated from the rest. So they have a nice area for that to do that. As I mentioned before, San Pasqual Union parents at San Pasqual Union School make a huge difference. If we are permitted to do so, we have lunch on the lawn a couple times a year that's sponsored by our PTO, which encourages parents and families to come together. The picture down at the bottom right is our Garden Day, our Art and Garden Day celebration, day-long celebration, run primarily by parents, in which students are exposed to our Sage Garden mission, which is our farm to table, kids knowing where their food comes from, getting back to nature type things, along with our art program through our Red Barn Arts. We have a really strong art program in which each class has their own art docent, and within that class, the art docents have access to our art room and our art resources. And so we take the arts, both the visual and performing, very seriously here at San Pasqual, and much of that is driven by the activities of our parents. We also have other days that are dedicated to our grandparents, Cinco de Mayo festivals, performances, all those kind of things. But parents definitely make a difference here at San Pasqual. This is some pictures out of our Sage Garden. It's not looking as pretty as this right at the moment. When we get a few more workers back, it'll look better. But within our Sage Garden, some of our goals is to teach students where food comes from. We have garden boxes as well as a large garden plot area, some fruit trees in there. Wish I could show it to you. It is a nice place to be. And one of our goals is to get into the cafeteria so that students actually get to enjoy the food that they're cooking and growing, and have that served in a meaningful, authentic way. So there's a picture. I don't know how many kids actually ate the kale that was brought to the garden, to the kitchen from the garden, but it was a nice gesture. We do also promote well-rounded kids and healthy kids. We have a strong sports program in our middle school. The picture on the bottom left is part of our fun run, but we do take the whole child into account, and we want to make sure that we have happy, healthy kids who are well-rounded. And then we have a strong character emphasis. This is a picture of some of our kindergartners and first graders receiving awards for character. We honor the 6 traits of, we practice the 6 traits of character, and students are honored each month for exemplifying those traits, and we have some activities and things that we do with them to promote kids to be kind and respectful and responsible. And last but not least, we do have fun here at San Pasqual. When kids have a sense of belonging, when kids get to do some things, we still have a costume parade in the fall, and we still eat candy once in a while. We do some things that kids really enjoy. But what we really focus on is we want to make sure that kids feel safe and they feel a sense of belonging. But we do set high standards for their academic achievement. And those things aren't mutually exclusive. And so our kindergarten team, as well as anyone, understands the benefits of respecting the whole child as we instruct them and as we work with them. And this is a picture of what that can look like on some days. So as I mentioned before, if you put your name and your email in the chat, we will follow up with this presentation with you, but we do want to answer any questions that you may have. And I will look in, I think the dates of the boot camp might have been wrong. I will ask Joanne, if you're on there, could you take a look at the boot camp dates? That might have been an old date on there. It seemed like it was a little bit early. I'm just checking in here on any questions we may have. There's a question that says about Miss Juarez teaching kindergarten for next year. Mrs. Juarez just announced that she's retiring. And so Mrs. Juarez, she has been a kindergarten teacher for many, many years, a teacher for over 20 years, and she is finally earning her rest. So Mrs. Juarez is retiring for next year. There's a question about Parent View possibly not working. Joanne, are we having any issues with Parent View?
Not that I was aware of. If you can type in the specifics or just send it to me, just send me an email with the issues and I can kind of troubleshoot it that way.
Yeah, one of the challenges we tend to have with Parent View is in order to register, the address needs to be within district. And sometimes there's abbreviations on names or something that doesn't register. Added in once an inter-district is accepted. So sometimes the Parent View creates some problems there. And occasionally we get some double entries from students who are in our system from preschool that may have been recreated as a kindergartner. So those are some common issues, but Joanne can definitely help you work through and walk through any of those problems that you might be having. So there was, okay, yep, some interest in that Zoom session that we're having on the 22nd. We'll take anybody's names that are in all these emails that we have here and the ones on the registration, and we will share that out with you for that. We had a wrong boot camp date.
Yeah, Mark, it is the 10th and 11th, just to clarify.
Oh, it is
Monday,
August
Tuesday.
10th?
It's Monday, Tuesday. It is August 10th and 11th. That is a Monday.
Okay, good. Okay, yep. So I think we had that on there. What activities are there for the extended kindergarten class? So good question. We have some general understandings of how it's looking like. We are looking at doing our core instruction, so the direct instruction in the morning times, or just after lunch when we have all students, and doing enrichment activities in that last 90 minutes of the day. So you'll probably see in a schedule them take an afternoon break, probably go from 1:30 to 1:45. And in that last hour and 15 minutes, we're anticipating putting things in there like music, some activities, some play-based stuff, some center things, things that they aren't going to miss core instruction, but that they will benefit from. Anyone in the kindergarten team want to add into that? I know we're very early in that planning process.
I think you covered it, Mr. Burrows, but it was the question about ETK.
I think it was when you were talking about extended kindergarten. Let me look at the.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think they were looking. I think they were looking at the longer day.
Oh, okay. I think that you pretty much covered it. I think that we were really looking to, add some enrichment activities at the end of the day and just give those more opportunities for students to be with their classmates and their peers. So I think you did a phenomenal job with comprehensive answer.
Oh, you are just too nice to me, Miss. There was a question as to whether we offer a kindergarten summer program. We do not currently have a kindergarten summer program, but we are looking to open up some of the current resources that we've been offering through our distance learning to other students here, to the students that are currently at the school. So if you are interested in some summer stuff, let us know, because we can kind of refer you to some resources, but we don't have an actual summer program for kindergartners right now. Looking in here. There's a question about proof of residency. So if you are coming into the school brand new, we do need a proof of residency to confirm that you're in the district or an inter-district transfer. If you have an older student, which is what the question is referencing, your proof of residency that you've previously submitted will work. The only thing that we'd ask is if you do move between now and then. We're probably on a cycle. I think we'll be collecting residency forms next year. We do it every few years, but if you've submitted one and you haven't moved, you are all good for that. Question, how do we sign up for the all-day kindergarten? That'll be your default. So when we sign folks up, we will have students that will be in that full day kindergarten till 3 o'clock. Unless you tell us otherwise, and we'll ask you when we get you guys kind of registered a little bit closer to school. I know now is sort of a difficult time to figure out exactly what people want to do, but we anticipate when we kind of get into that month of August and we start ramping up, we will be looking to get some specificity as far as people's choices if they do decide that they would like a shorter day. How recent do the medical and dental assessments need to be? Could you help us out with that, Joanne?
I'll reattach it because I think I attached it earlier, the guidelines on that. So let me bring it up. I believe. Let me check my email because I know Ms. Zagiano sent me something on that as well.
Yeah, why don't you let me know? I'll take a couple other questions. If a child was in TK, do you need any registration documents at this time? And the answer for that would be, yep. Yeah, so our continuing students, we should have everything from you because we collected all those. We will be talking to you a little bit later about your returning students, but that won't be till August. If your child is going from our TK to kinder program, yep, that was an answer. So you just have to have your immunizations up to date. And I think either Mrs. Lee or Mrs. Wang mentioned that they are looking to do some well visits because I know people are hesitant to head in to the doctors. And there are also some options at like CVS's and minute clinics and that kind of stuff. But I can understand the hesitancy. So talk to your doctor about that. There is some opening up, but you want to make sure that you're going and keeping your kids safe. Is there a nap or a rest time? Kinder teachers, you want to address what it is currently and what, yeah. So, Ms. Schiefer?
Yeah, there isn't a nap time, but there will be a rest time, and that would be an extra recess in the afternoon that we don't normally have now.
Yeah, so
but we're not going to do something that's like super, that if they're really tired, teachers can gauge where they're at and, and do an assignment, something that would work with them at that time.
Thank you, Ms. Schiefer.
Mm-hmm.
And typically people ask sort of what does a typical kindergarten day look like as far as their schedule. Most folks, our school day starts at 8:30 for all students. Our gates open up at 8 o'clock in the morning, so we do have supervision for students from 8 until 8:30. Most kindergarten parents bring their child to school and walk them to where they need to go early part of the school year. And then as the students start to gain some independence, they are able to do that pretty well on their own. Kids are brought into the class around 8:25. School day starts at 8:30. Kindergartner will typically get a recess break around 10:30 in the morning. And then they will usually have their lunch at around 11:45, 12 o'clock, right in that range there. Most parents will send in a small snack or something like that for them for their recess. And then there's some parents that will pack lunch. I would say in kinder, most parents pack lunch, and then we have some that will get a lunch account and have their students buy lunch while they're here at school, or access our free and reduced lunch program. So that's kind of how that process typically works. We do give our kindergartners a little bit longer time for lunch than we give the rest of the students. So the rest of the students usually have about a 45-minute lunch, 50-minute lunch when you kind of get them all back together. Kindergartners get closer to an hour of their time. There's a little bit of time to kind of get help opening things up, and we have a cruel design at San Pasquale where we take our students with the littlest legs and we put the kitchen furthest away. And so it takes a little while to head over to the kitchen to get their food and get it back. And so we take that into account. When students have their recess time in the morning, it lasts about 15 minutes. That's the time where they eat their snack, they play, they take care of bathroom needs, those kind of things. When they have their lunch, that lunchtime is split up about half and half, with time that they eat and time that they play. We will almost invariably be building in times that they wash their hands and those types of things as we move through. So there might be a little change in schedule to either accommodate some social distance or accommodate some hygiene stuff. So maybe a little bit of changes on that, but I think how we normally do it, as long as we are permitted to do so, will look very similar to how we've been doing it. Is kindergarten boot camp for TK as well? Yes, definitely. I should have added that in. We probably need to change the title so that TK doesn't get shortchanged. But yes, our kindergarten boot camp is for all TK and kindergartners. So we welcome all of them to come. There's a question, do you offer summer programs for other grade levels? In the past, the only summer programs that we've really offered through the school have been extended school year programs for students that have disabilities, and they've come in to get additional services for their disabilities. This year, we are still seeking some funding from the state, but this year we're looking to offer some sort of a summer school program, even if it's virtual, to students. Some parents are telling me the last thing that we want to do when the school year's over is to continue virtual learning. So some want their summer break. But others want to continue to engage their student, make sure that they're either not falling behind or that they can continue some of the things that they really like through the virtual learning program. So you can expect that we will be offering at minimum a continuation of some of our virtual tools. If we can get some additional funding on that, and if social distancing is reduced, we'd like to have some sort of a learning center here. And folks that are coming in for kinder would be able to access that as well. So that would be that question. Joanne put some information in there about all your proof of residency. Are there limited spots for the before and after school program? Yeah, that program's sort of in limbo at the moment, just because we don't know how many spots we're allowed to take. In the past, we've had some challenges. I know last year, we had a lot of challenges accommodating our kinder students who wanted after school care from 1:30 to 3. And that actually was one of the pieces that drove that full day kindergarten model. Not only were we having a regional approach to nearly all the school districts in our area offering kindergarten till 3 o'clock, we were also putting a burden on our parents, either financially or practically, by having them pay for that 1:30 to 3 o'clock time, or not having that 1:30 to 3 o'clock time available. And so I would anticipate this year we are going to have less challenges on that after school, because typically we haven't had too many challenges offering before school care. We have immense challenges in that 1:30 to 3, which can be addressed through the school day right now for our kindergartners, and less of a challenge for the 3 o'clock on programs. What I would encourage you to do, and maybe Joanne, if you could put this in the chat for us, is put Sue David's email address. So Sue Davids runs our program, and she can give you an indication as to where they're at with that program. The one challenge that we have, and I don't think it's an insurmountable challenge, is that if we are in a world of social distancing, would probably end up splitting kids between rooms and that kind of stuff, but I think we'll be able to accommodate, for the most part, those that are interested. But email Sue Davids, and if she get connected onto her and her list, and she can give you the current information on that. A question about taking the school bus. Are kindergarten students able to take the bus home? The answer is yes, as long as they are located within the areas where we do bus routes. So typically, if you live in the areas of Rancho San Pasqual or Vista Monte, we don't have any buses that go to those areas. The bus routes that we have primarily go into San Pasqual Valley. So you'll have folks that live in San Pasqual Valley that are on that bus route, some folks that are on Cloverdale on that bus route. But the folks that aren't are the ones who live in the two adjoining communities, as well as anybody coming in on an inter-district transfer. But as long as your student lives in an area where the buses are served, kindergarten students are permitted to go on the bus. Mrs. Anguiano, as we get closer to school, would be the one to talk to about that. She can get you set all there. Do we send all documents through email for TK, example, birth certificate, immunization, dental health? Yep, what I would suggest you do is send those in to Joanne through email, joanne.wang@sanpasqualunion.net. Like I said, she may be following up with you for originals at some point, but that's when we're allowed to get together. For now, we just can get those proofs through there. Question about when is boot camp? And that looks like it's answered in the chat. It's August 10th and 11th from 9 to 11 o'clock in the morning. Looks like Mrs. David's information is in there for Kids Club. And there's also a link to the Kids Club website. I've been doing a lot of talking, which I am known to do. But are there any of you who have some questions on kindergarten or any of our team that has some additional things that we might want to add? Feel free to either put it in the chat or unmute. Let's see, I think, yep, there's the forms that are being linked in. Anybody have any questions or things that they would like to ask instead of type? Because this is all about you guys. So hopefully there's some things that you got out of here that's helpful. Yeah, Sarah, you have a question?
So if you have to, about 12 per class with social distancing, approximately. So does that mean you're going to have several more kindergarten classes? How are
No, what it would probably mean is if we were forced to do social distancing, it would be some hybrid model of the homeschool. So
okay.
Forced to do social distancing, you would see some scenario of perhaps a week on site school and a week home learning, or a couple days a week, 2-3 days a week on site, 2 to 3 days a week home learning, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So we're kind of looking at those options as our hybrid model. The challenge right now is we don't know what the requirements are going to be quite yet.
Right.
And there seems to be a number of people that somehow think they know what it's going to be 100 days from now, and they're making their plans. Our plan is to operate school the way we operate best, and continue to do so unless it becomes apparent much closer to the date that it won't be. So our plan is to have kids back in school full-time, the way we do school best. If we get up to the beginning of school, we're looking into July, and we get a stay-at-home order that extends past when school starts, we will have plans in place to do these additional.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be sending out some survey information to folks, primarily to folks who have students that are currently here now. And essentially what we want to find out from them is, open, and we're permitted to have school open, we have a handful of folks that would prefer to continue with distance learning. Either because their child has excelled that way, or because there's still some lingering fear. We'll have some home options for families that want that. But we also want to know which ones are kind of ready to come back. And our base program will continue to be our in-class, and we'll make those changes only if we have to.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions that you may have? All right. Well, I am glad that so many of you could join us. We don't spend a whole lot of time on the school site now, but we spend a whole lot of time on our computers. So if you have any questions, our website, if you go to www.sanfranciscounion.net, there is a staff link at the very top. And all of the folks that were part of this meeting, all of our kindergarten teachers, Miss Lee, Miss Wang, the folks that serve the programs that you were about, all of those folks are on that website, including myself. So feel free to reach out. We can answer a lot of questions about what our kindergarten program typically looks like, and we will continue to provide updates on what the social distancing stuff is looking like. I do host a weekly coffee with the principal, and we have to go through sort of general questions about the school. So you're welcome to join us for that. And now that we've got you guys in the loop, if you've got your email with us or if you've registered with your email, we will start putting you into our community to kindergarten. So I thank you guys for joining us tonight. And like I said, if things come up, we will continue to share information about the session that's coming up later this month. And if there's anything else that we can do for you, I know sending a kindergartner is a little bit nerve-wracking, but I promise you, we have good people waiting for them. So you let us know if there's anything that we can do for your child in the meantime. If you have any questions, please let us know. And thank you very much for joining us tonight. All right.
Thank you.
You all be safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How do you get out of here now? Let's see.